Okay, hello everybody. I want to show you something that I find quite um, interesting, a certain oddity in the theology of Yuval Noah Harari, and uh, I would want to first present what is this oddity that I identify in his doctrines, in his thesis, and then try to identify also from where this oddity comes and what is the reason for this oddity and which kind of deep lacks it represents in the kind of framework and viewpoint he has for humanity in general. Okay, so the oddity is the following. So as you know, the doctrines of Yuval Noah Harari, as he presents them in his lectures, in his thesis, are very simplistic, are extremely simplistic. He basically refers to all of humanity as one species of animalistic creatures living on the face of planet Earth, and refers to them as Homo-Sapiens. Okay, just an animalistic creature that inhabits Earth and abides to the laws of biology and evolution and whatever. Okay, fine. So it's all fine. Okay, and that's it. That's the story of humanity. Humanity is just a species of animalistic creatures. On the other hand, Yuval also has ideas of ethics. Okay, and part of his ethics is that he's a vegan. Okay, as you can see, he's vegan, and says this resulted from his research. Okay, fine. And also, it's quite interesting that he is not just vegan by himself, but other people are becoming vegan by reading his books. For instance, you can see. Let's go to YouTube for a moment. Just a second. Okay, vegan. So you see, you can, for instance, see this clip over here. Why I went vegan. As an avid eat-meter, this individual is holding exactly this book, this Sapiens book, and so on. And I view it as a certain gap, as something that I cannot really explain for myself. Okay, so it's an oddity in his ideas, in his doctrines. Why? Because once you think about it, it seems like two contradictory claims in his viewpoint. It's not consistent. Because you see, if you truly view humanity as an animalistic creature, as an organism that, or as a species that lives on planet Earth, and are just like all the other animals, why should people not eat meat? Because you see, he comes to people and he tells them, yeah, but you understand, when we eat meat, we inflict pain upon other animals. Okay, we inflict pain upon other animals. So ethically, it is wrong. Ethically, it is not fine. Ethically, we are, caging animals in industry and so on, and it's just not okay. But then why? Why? Why should we care? Let's see. Let's see how nature really looks like. Okay, I don't know. I really love. I find Mother Nature to be wonderful. But if he so wants us as humans to be just part of Mother Nature, then I don't know. Mother Nature is not so merciful. Let's see some National Geographic kind of stuff. Let's see how a lion eats. Okay. Let's fast forward a bit. Okay, I don't know. I don't know. To me, it doesn't seem that the lion gives crap about whether this hippo is suffering or not. So you see, Yuval on the one hand takes you and tells you you're part of nature, but then he excludes from you the right other animals have. Lions, bears, tigers, all the strong animals in nature. So not only does he take you to the animal kingdom, he puts you in a very, in a very low position inside the animal kingdom. Because it tells you, you are an animal, but you're not allowed to behave like an animal. You need to behave ethically. You're not allowed to inflict pain on other animals. But then why? Why should there be any justification for us not to care? Okay, so he says, yeah, the calf, he feels pain to other creatures, and the little baby cow is suffering because it's being slaughtered or stuff like this. I don't see the lion cares for this. You think a lion would sit in a Yuval Noah Harari lecture and Yuval would tell him, you need to be, we are Homo-Sapiens, you are a lion, but you need to care for the hippo, not inflict pain on it. I don't think the lion is going to listen. So you see, there's something in the thesis of Yuval Noah Harari that is missing a huge part. Something is missing. There is a gap, there is an oddity here. And I think he feels this too, because when he refers to veganism, he doesn't understand that it is a type of a religion. But where does this religion come from? What is this gap that it tries to cover up on? Okay? And that's exactly, it's not just a tiny point. And to tell you the truth, I don't care if somebody is vegan or not. I don't care what people eat. It's not none of my business what you put on your plate. But I do try to understand when somebody is talking from a scientific point of view, and there is such a striking inconsistency. What does this inconsistency represent? Okay, so happily for us, we have a very interesting book. Okay, and from a very profound scholar, and not less profound than Yuval Noah Harari, and he wrote this book around almost 100 years ago. It was in the 1930s, I think. So much before Yuval. So you see, we have Yuval, and we have another scholar, in my eyes much deeper, that his name was Rabbi Mordechai Kaplan. But before I proceed, please, let me say the following things. Don't think that just because he is a rabbi, he is coming to argue a religious argument. Not at all. By the way, just to position things in place, I would more label Rabbi Kaplan as a philosophical scholar about referring to the state of humanity in general, not just Judaism, humanity in general, rather than a religious figure. Okay, it's maybe simplistic to refer to him in this way, but it would make our discussion about what he's saying a bit simpler, because it does not come from a religious point of view. None so. It's more sociological discussion, and just as an illustration, Rabbi Mordechai Kaplan is absolutely not acknowledged by the Orthodox institutions, rabbinical institutions. Okay, he is not, and his books are more philosophical, sociological essays, but very profound. And please don't think that just because he is a rabbi, his message is, specifically oriented for a Jewish audience per se, rather than a wider audience, because it is not so. His books are of very wide range, not less wide than Yuval's ideas. Okay, so he wrote a book that is called Judaism as a Civilization. Now, I don't want to make an oversimplification of what he is saying, but he's basically saying that in the 20th century, 21st century, humanity has an interest, even if we are Homo sapiens and so on, to preserve some form of a folkloric religious, on the level not of mystical religion, but of a folkloric religion for the sake of the well-being of humanity. Not just Judaism, but in general, to be able to produce some sort of modern folkloric religion that is necessary for the psychological development and maintenance of modern society for humanity in general. That's more or less his thesis. So in some sense, let's say that he does accept Yuval's thesis that we are just, Homo sapiens, yeah, or just some sort of creature developing by evolution and part of the natural world, but that it is essential in a utilitarian survivalist sense to preserve or to develop some sort of modern religion, because it is out of the understanding that this folkloric religion is a necessity for humanity. And in my eyes, this is exactly what is missing in Yuval's doctrine. Okay? So let me read you a passage from the book of Rabbi Mordechai Kaplan, referring to the way humans treat food. Okay? And I find it highly interesting, especially in connection with the doctrines of Yuval. And I think that this is sort of the, like how you say in evolution theory, the missing link in his doctrines. Exactly the missing link that if we will go in the way of, in Yuval's way, we will bring humanity back to some modern caveman society, which will try to preserve achievements of the past, but will dwindle back into the worst primitivity in terms of social and moral sense. Okay? And rather, in this case, we will go forward. So, let's see. He's speaking here about the dietary laws. You know, in Judaism, dietary laws are extremely varied, extremely developed. Yes, it's insane. It's not insane, but there's many dietary laws. Okay, you can eat this and you cannot eat that, and you can eat this and not eat that, and you should bless on the food and bless before and bless after and so on. Okay, and he's trying to look from a sort of modern point of view. What will justify the formation of so many laws? So many laws with reference to the most basic and physical one. Well, there are maybe other physical activities that humans do, but this is one of them, definitely one of them. The most physical and natural actions that a person does, which is eat. Okay, and he has something very interesting to say about it. So let's see. Granting that the dietary laws cannot be observed in the traditional spirit, the fact remains that because of the dietary inhibition, the Jewish civilizations has acquired a high degree of distinction and dignity. Okay, distinction, yeah, it's also quite distinctive, yeah, but he proceeds. The dietary practices have transformed the process of eating from a purely animal act to one in which spirituality plays a part. Meaning that humanity, or in this case the Jewish nation, long time ago, made an act of infusing the action of eating by some sort of spiritual content. Now, this spiritual content might have been extremely primitive, might have been, well, fit for something that was aligned with the viewpoints of a society long time ago and so on. But still, it's an attempt. It's a psychological attempt of a society to remove the action of eating from the animalistic level to something that is on a higher plane. Okay? To give it some sort of moral, religious, deeper content than just eating, not just devouring something. It may be said that all such attempts to hide or gloss over the animalism of human nature are forms of self-deception. You can say, okay, what, you think that this is spirituality? You think that if you eat something and bless over it, then you've done something spiritual? It's just self-deception. So Rabbi Kaplan says something unbelievable. He said, you might be true. You might be true. It might be all just complete self-deception. We're completely deceiving ourselves when we think that it somehow elevates the action of eating. But it's a necessary deception. It's necessary for the psychology of humanity. This component, because otherwise we come to an extremely grim and impossible way of life for us as humans, for us as Homo sapiens. Because on the one hand, we do have this animalistic part in us, but we are also, contrary to other animals, have a certain awareness in ourselves that makes it very, very dark to live just as animals. We need this self-deception. We need the self-deception of a civilization, of feelings that we are higher than that. And even Yuval, by the way, he acknowledges that one thing that is unique to humans is the fact that we can feel guilt, for instance. A lion does not feel guilt by devouring a hippo. But somehow Yuval does feel guilt by drinking milk. Why? Because we have this inner need to disassociate ourselves just from this animalistic part. So in a certain sense, when Yuval says, I am vegan, he by himself is heretic against his own doctrine. Because if he would have truly believed that he is just Homo sapiens, he would not care to be vegan. An animal, just as you saw now, the lion devouring the hippo, he does not care if he harms or makes another creature pain. We need to feel that we do not cause pain because we want to feel higher than animals. We want it. It's ingrained in us. Whether it's a deception or not, we can argue about this. And it might be very well right that we are completely deceiving ourselves, that we are as cruel as animals and worse. But we need to cover it up. The need to cover it up, this feeling, is ingrained within humanity. And Yuval, you see, even if he denounces all the religions that came and developed before him thousands of years ago, which is legitimate, he develops a religion of his own. It's evolutionary. It's an evolutionary process within his own psychic and the psychic of many other people that follow him. Okay? Let's continue. It must be realized, however, that it is more natural for the human being to widen the distance between him and animal nature than to be assimilated with it. And even Yuval, that all of his career is based on calling all of humanity an animalistic organism, species, sapiens, and whatever. When it comes to his own habits, he does need psychologically to distance himself from this. He needs it. Okay? Why? Because he's human. It's not just a sapiens, he's a human. Okay? And in the past, it developed into, in the course of thousands of years, as a collective, developed religions. But when you undo and erase and delete all of the previous religions, you develop one of your own. It's just part of the process. But this process has already been done. But if you want to start it all over again, then it will take you a few other thousands of years, and after a few thousands of years, also Yuval's religion will develop into some sort of corpus that will be mysterious for the next Yuval Noah Harari 3,000 years from now. So humans have an inner psychological need to distance themselves from animals. And the mechanisms that they have developed in order to distance themselves in such a way is civilization and religion. Since civilization, and this is exactly what is missing from Yuval's book. In Yuval's book there is no civilization, there is no form of civilization. He erased it. He wants us to all go back to the starting point 3,000 years ago and develop as a human sapien, as a Homo sapiens. But eventually religion will develop again, and maybe a worse one than the ones that we have today. Since civilization is not an artifact but a natural fact, it is a perfectly natural development for the human being to move in the direction of more developed civilizations. It's simply part of the evolution of the human mind. Humans create civilizations, and they create civilization in order to distance themselves from the animalistic world. Exactly this one that Yuval is referring to as Homo sapiens. It's just part of the evolution of the human psyche, missing from his book. In the matter of diet, the process of civilization will not only affect the preparation of the food, it will also evolve a kind of religious etiquette which will minimize the animality of the act of eating. And you see, Yuval is doing it by himself. I don't want to harm others, I want to feel that I have morals. I want to feel that I am not an animal. I want to feel that I am not a lion. That's what he's saying. I call myself Homo sapiens, but I want to feel that I am not. That I'm not just an animal that eats and does not care for, I want to feel superior. That's what he's saying. When he says, we know today, science knows today that animals can also feel pain, and I do not want to cause pain, he's basically saying, I want to be higher than an animal. Because an animal does not care if it causes pain to its food. It does not care. It will also evolve a kind of religious etiquette which will minimize the animality of the act of eating. And that's the source of our modern veganism. And also Yuval is aware of this, that the modern veganism is a type of a religion. Why then should not the Jews avail themselves to those of their folk ways which might energize the deeply ingrained habit of transforming the act of eating as it were into a sacrament? So it says, the existing religions have already developed such a thing. And now we have a new religion, the religion of sapiens and veganism and of sort of like a modern ethics and so on. But you see that it develops by itself. It develops by itself as a part of a really a scientific process that once you leave the human psyche and take it down to the level of an animal, it rise by himself, and its own messenger, the own messenger of this doctrine, which you see is, I think, Rabbi Kaplan wrote much before Yuval was born. Is developing it by itself, yeah, even if it is not scientifically consistent with everything that he is saying. Because if it would have been really scientifically consistent, if we would have been just Homo sapiens or an animalistic species, we would not care for veganism. We would eat other animals without caring nothing for their well-being or their pain. The idea of caring for somebody's pain is an idea that comes from the human psychology to be superior over just animals, to have some added meaning to life and to things and to being superior over nature. That's it. So Yuval is basically violating his own doctrines. That's the point that I think is very important to understand, and it comes from the fact that his doctrines are missing. There is a huge gap over his brief history of humanity that basically is so brief that it's just outdone and erased from the picture. Once you decide to write a brief history of humanity without humanity in it, you have a very short history, right? Because you have erased all of civilization. Okay, so guys, I think that's it. The point here is clear. Have a good evening.